Alright, I'm going to show you something that's going to freak you out. These are proteins. They used to say about a year ago 20,000 or so in our body. Now they're saying it may be 80,000. And what does a protein do? These are extremely elegant programs. They're molecules, but they are also programs. They have a specific order of attachments, and if that order is disrupted, it's not correct, you're sick. Okay, my outstanding friends, Roger once again. The last video I did is this one right here, and I'm talking about interstitium, which is a layer of your body tissue that coats everything in your body, and it is the protective mechanism that keeps you healthy. Now, I want to just play the first minute or so of this because it explains how this has changed the whole ball game of health. Here goes. Okay, my wonderful, outstanding friends, before I get into this too deeply, I want you to understand interstitium is basically a new human organ that they never saw before because they didn't understand how complex this system is, and the interstitium and the interstitial fluids and all of that and the bacteria bound membranes all works together now. And scientists said in a study published Tuesday that they might have stumbled on a previously unknown organ, the biggest in the human body, and one that could significantly advance our understanding of cancer and many other diseases. All right, that's enough I have to do for here. This is critically important that you understand this. Everybody should understand this fully. And this is a presentation made primarily for doctors. Now, you should take this to your doctor and say, can you please help me? All right, let's just carry this a little further in this first presentation, part one. Listen, I am going to explain to you precisely what the interstitium is, and they are exactly correct, but it's the bacteria that live there that we really need to look into. Okay, so we know that there's a chance for whole new medical thinking here, and here is the reason why. These fluid-filled sacs are not just nothing, they're filled with bacteria. That's enough. We can go and look at some of the recent research that's been done. And primarily, this bacteria originates in your gut. As far as I can tell, almost all the bacteria in your body originates in your intestines and digestive system. All right, now, where does it go from there? It goes through these fluid-filled bags. This is a highway. These are not sealed compartments. It's a highway. It's called the interstitial highway now. It's a fluid-filled region that just goes through your body. When you squish this part, when you get back up, these little springs open the bags back up. That fluid is being squirted everywhere through your body. And that's what they don't fully understand, is that without this bacteria, you cannot break down the products that have to be broken down, especially in your lymphatic system. That is the killer, and it is a killer. All right, the reason I say that the bacteria is so important in you, because every single thing that goes through your body, not a single molecule that goes through your digestive system, is not being dealt with by that bacteria. Bacteria deals with every single molecule, and the bacteria create enzymes. The enzymes make the chemical process 1,000,000 times faster than it would happen if you didn't have it. So you're going to collect all this stuff in there, and it's going to be a disaster, and it's going to eat through your different membranes, and it's going to attack you. Now listen, patients with cancer that do not respond to immunotherapy drugs, adjusting the composition of the microorganisms in the intestine, known as the gut microbiome, that's where I believe it all starts, through the use of stool or fecal transplants, may help some of these individuals respond to the immunotherapy drugs, a new study suggests. Now, this is the research at the National Cancer Institute. Now, you don't hear about this stuff. I don't know why, but this is part of the National Cancer Health Institute conducted the study in collaboration with investigators from Hillman Cancer Center at the University of Pittsburgh. In the study, some patients with advanced melanoma, that's the deadliest of all of all cancers, who initially did not respond to treatment with an immune checkpoint inhibitor, a type of immunotherapy, did respond to the drug after receiving a transplant of fecal microbiota, listen to this now, from a patient who had responded to the drug. Now, would it only be from a patient that responded to the drug, or would it be from anybody that had a very pristine microbiota? I don't know that. But if they did respond to the drug, and then they didn't respond, then they did respond, well, it's quite obvious what happened there. The results suggest that introducing certain fecal microorganisms into a patient's colon may help the patient respond to drugs that enhance the immune system's ability to recognize and kill tumor cells. Okay, this was back in February of this year. Now, let's go a little deeper. Now, when I was talking about mapping the immune system, this is what this Dr. Tricheria added. We have to identify the specific microorganisms that are critical for overcoming a tumor's resistance to immunotherapy drugs and to investigate the biological mechanisms involved. Every single place in your body has different chemistry. So obviously the microorganisms, the bacteria that live in these membranes, have to deal with different chemistry. So that's why we need to make a map of where these things live, lives in what spots. Let me show you something about the lymph system. All right, let me explain the interstitium. Coats everything in your body. Every single thing in your body is coated with interstitium. You see these little black spots? These are what they call lymph nodes. Now I'm going to focus in on this because this is just the neck, and these are the lymph nodes. You have them all running down your neck, under your armpits, everywhere in your body. In your groin, you have tons of them. Now, there's certain ones that cling to veins, and then I see down here they seem to be clinging to the arteries. I am not a full expert at this, but I can tell you one thing right now. Those lymph nodes are slathered with bacteria, and we don't know what is living in those lymph nodes. All right, in each one of those bags, let me explain to you the process here. As you do chemistry in your body, you have byproducts. Those byproducts are collected through these little tiny tubes, and they run into these nodes. A node is just a ball where they should be dealt with some chemistry to make them inert to hurting you. And what happens is, instead of that chemistry being there, which is bacterial chemistry, enzymes, they can't break the things down. They can't create the products you need. Whatever, it's one way or the other. Because what happens is the chemistry in you, your enzymes, and your catalysts that are made by your good bacteria need to keep that function going and keep that bacterial engine working to break everything down, and then they get these little tiny pieces and they make whatever they want. That's how your body works. And in every one of these, they have to collect and dump. Now, what does that mean? This is just your neck. Now, you have these things all over your body, and wherever you have different chemistry, where you have acids and salts and bile and gallbladders and all that, you're going to have different types of bacteria. It's just absolutely certain. And we don't know where these bacteria are. However, they do know that this lymph system is is fluids. And these fluids run through all of your body. I showed, or I will show, they are in these interstitial layers. And they're just squirted all over the place through your body. So primarily in your gut is where all of this chemistry starts, because that's where you get your bacteria from. That's where your gut really does its work. Now, I got something highlighted up here. I'm not even sure what it is. The lymphatic capillaries are the absorbing part of the lymphatic system. Exactly. These lymphatic capillaries, they absorb fluids and whatever you need back into your body. And they work with each other to make up a network. They are afferent to the pre-collectors, often equipped with valves and with a thin, smooth, spiral muscular. All right, and they dump into the pre-collectors. And then somehow that flushes through your body. I'm not 100% on this, but I don't think anybody is. They know that when you get lymph node cancer, it's a melanoma. When you get melanoma and it spreads to your lymph nodes, you're in trouble. However, they have found that a fecal transplant, which is nothing more than an enhanced microbiota, helps. And it appears like it's going to cure people. Now, I can't say that for a fact, but here's the evidence. All right, I'm going to really break this down very simple. It's very complicated, but it's simple at the same time. You have microorganisms, which are these little amino acid proteins created as catalysts and enzymes by bacteria. The bacteria live in these fluid-filled sacs, which are interstitium membranes, and they are everywhere. Every single thing has a membrane. Every single thing in your body, everything one of these has a membrane around it. All of your arteries, all of your muscle fibers, all of your tissues, everything, your eyeballs, everything has a membrane around it. Your skin is a membrane. Now, what happens is these little nodules are your lymph system. The lymphatic network is where all the fluids go through your body, and then these collect them. They collect the garbage. These are the garbage dumps of your body. And in this case, in your neck and so forth, they're all pretty much attached, it looks like, to the veins. Down here in your groin, you've got a lot of them in your arteries. I don't really know the difference, and I don't know if anybody really does, but there is a ton of them in your body, under your armpits, everywhere. Now, they have to take out the garbage. And what does that? Just because it flushes into here, that doesn't mean anything. That means you got the nastiest stuff in your whole body living in that little bag. Well, what happens to that bag if you can't clean it up and destroy it and make it inert to your body? It breaks through the membranes. It eats its way through because it's toxic. And that's what happens, and then you get invasion. Now, and then it moves and you get more invasion because you cannot deal with this toxicity. You don't have the bacteria. They have done fecal transplants. Let me show you. Okay, once again, I'm going to cut right to the chase. There are patients that do not respond to anything once they get invaded in these lymph nodes. It's a very, very bleak outcome normally. Now, this was just released this year. Fecal microbiota transplants help patients with advanced melanoma respond to immunotherapy. And if you look up advanced melanoma, it's not good. Now, here's what I am going to show you directly. Like I said, I cut right to the chase. This is what they identified in this study. And this is why I say we need a map of where all of these different bacteria live. There's 80,000 of them, they think now. Well, I don't know if there's that many bacteria. There might be. I can't remember now. But maybe that was the proteins. But there are thousands and thousands of these different bacteria that live in your body. And I don't think anybody knows how many there are. But we do need to be able to identify them. And I have a friend who runs 19 food service labs to test food coming into the country from primarily Mexico, to test it for food safety. And he has bacterial analyzers. He says he could take a click and shoot it and see exactly what kind of bacteria lives in there, or see a fingerprint of it somehow with the color identification. I don't know exactly how, but if we could identify just by saying here's a diseased lymph node and here's a good one, and we could find out. And here's what they're exactly saying. We expect that future studies will identify which groups of bacteria, which ones are they? And where do they live? In the gut. are capable of converting patients who do not respond to immunotherapy drugs into patients who do respond. And this is Dr. Amiran Dzutsev. And he's an M.D., Ph.D., National Cancer Institute Center for Cancer Research. He's the first author of the study. These could come from patients who have responded or from healthy donors. At this point, they really don't know if everybody that's healthy will respond or if it's just the ones that have responded have this special thing. I think it's anybody, but that's just my guess at this point. If researchers can identify which microorganisms in a map are critical for the response to immunotherapy, then it may be possible to deliver these organisms directly to patients who need them without even a fecal transplant. Now, a fecal transplant is literally not much more than a what do you call it, a colonoscopy type of thing. It's right in that area. And this, I am telling you, it's being done right now. All right, I don't know where I stopped on that, but I think it was kind of confusing. All it means is that as it breaks down through these layers, that's when it releases its contents into the cell. The cell has to have some chemistry in there that says, I want the contents of your capsule. And that chemistry has to attack this outer layer. And if it can't, you can't get that stuff out of there. And if you can't get that stuff out of there, you can't attack the stuff that's invading you. I mean, it's a little bit of a dance, but it's not all that complicated. I think we need to know what bacteria live in what places and then supplement them when they're not there. But that's just I'd like to see that tried.
It also contains cell components, enzymes, and various organic molecules.
See, inside of here is enzymes, cell components, and molecules, other types of molecules. There's all kinds of stuff in there.
If the plasma membrane is removed, the cell's contents spill into the environment. And
all right, this is when I say the membrane gets removed. How's it get removed? Something says, all right, I'm going to break you up and let it come in here. It just doesn't break apart by accident. There's certain chemistry made by these bacteria, and there are so many of them that create these different proteins that are hold on a second. All right, here's just a little more backup. What are proteins and what do they do? They're very large, complex molecules, play many critical roles in the body. Well, like what? As enzymes. Enzymes carry out almost all of the thousands of chemical reactions that take place in your cells. Thousands of chemical reactions continuously. And because it's an enzyme, it's also a catalyst. And what is a catalyst? It increases how quickly that chemical process takes by a factor of 1,000,000. So just think of how quick milk goes bad in you. If you couldn't break down that stuff and it sits around for a week when it's supposed to be gone in a microsecond, you got a problem. You're going to start to get your tissues invaded. They assist with the formation of new molecules by reading the genetic information stored in DNA. They're messengers, they're antibodies, they're structural components, they're transport and storage. They carry all the little molecules within your cells throughout your body. That's the interstitium. That is the lymph highway. So once you get the correct bacteria in you, it should be able to migrate to where it's supposedly doing its job. That's what I would expect. Now, will it regenerate and stay? I don't know. You may have to continuously supplement it. I have no idea. But I can tell you what, we need to look into this right away. There's a zillion people that are in this condition now that they have these kind of cancers that are not responding. You know, everybody knows somebody that has cancer. I'd be very surprised if you don't. But these proteins are very complex. They're made up of hundreds or thousands of smaller units of these amino acids. And this is what ends up being your chemistry set. They're attached to one another in big, long chains and all balled up. And there's 20 amino acids, and you can combine them in 1,000,000 different ways, and really billions of different ways. And they can create billions of different amino acids, combinations of 3 DNA building blocks determined by the sequence of genes. So these are the things that do everything in your body. And this is the key right here, enzymes and catalysts. Without that, you're in trouble. They accelerate the speed of a chemical reaction by 1,000,000 times at least. And then they go on to do another one. They don't even get used up. That's how elegant an enzyme is and a catalyst. All right, here's a little more support. This is again the National Cancer Institute, or National Cancer Institute. Human microbiome and cancer. Microbiome refers to the collection of all of the gene sequences from a community of microbes in the human body, everywhere, everywhere. High throughput DNA amplification sequencing technologies to characterize the microbial communities. They have to figure them out. Where are they living and what communities are they? Will provide data for investigations of microbial associations with human disease. Exactly. Their goal is to establish cohorts with fecal and oral specimens to prospectively evaluate the associations. Exactly what I'm saying too. Okay, I'd just like to add this, that they're saying, they agree, microbiome research has grown exponentially over the past several years, but they still want more. We're not sure of this, we can't really do this, we need prolonged approaches to address all this stuff. Well, the people don't have prolonged times to wait to address this stuff. I think I've shown, or will show, that there is substantial evidence to at least allow people to try these things. All right, I think I sort of explained that bacteria are the providers of everything. They're the big guy. The programs that they create are the viruses. The viruses are non-living collections of molecules, and I showed you those molecules are nothing more than a program, and they need a host to survive. They're a program that gets inside the host and says, here's what I want you to do. Basically, that's what a virus does. Now, the bacteria is the precursor to the virus. Now, I see enzymes basically as the same thing as viruses, only we say an enzyme breaks down something for us so that we can absorb the food. I say a virus breaks down something which we didn't want it to break down, like collagen number 1 or collagen number 3, which is in your lungs. And you're supposed to have nice stiff little collagen, and if that virus gets in there and breaks it down, which is nothing more than an enzyme. It's nothing more than an enzyme. So, that's what we got. I might have shown this before, but I want to be sure you understand. Proteins are made by bacteria. The bacteria create the proteins. The proteins are the program, and they're made up of hundreds or thousands of smaller units called amino acids. Those are the program codes, and they program one to another, to another, to another, and an exact sequence means it is this exact protein. And that exact protein has an exact job to go break up something to create some kind of special molecule that you need for some kind of special purpose in your body. If you don't have it, and that special process is not being met, you are likely going to be invaded by whatever it was you were supposed to detoxify. If it was a detoxifier, it might have been something to break down something in your body, and you don't have it, and you can't break that food down to get absorbed the right material from that food. And then you get obsessive eating, compulsive eating disorder, because you're trying to feed something into your system that you can't break down. So you're not getting it, and your body can say, come on, just eat anything. Who knows? We'll find something that'll work. No. There's 20 different types of amino acids, and they all build together into thousands of these smaller units. And now, there's 20 different types of them. They can be combined to make a protein. These proteins bind and carry atoms and small molecules within cells and throughout the body. They are the transporters. They transport everything through your body. You don't have these things in the right, these proteins made out of these amino acids, which are things that were broken down by bacteria, which the bacteria created the enzymes and the catalysts. It's one big chain of events. And if you can't get to these end products that do their job in your body to clean you up and dump the garbage out of your lymph nodes, you're going to get sick. Now, this is very, very new stuff. This is just out a few months back, and this kind of stuff travels very slowly in the research circles. It's not really well received, to be perfectly honest with you. That's what I found. They have a tradition, we've told all these people the same stuff. Oh man, we really better be sure before we do anything whatsoever. Don't say a word about it. Just keep it under wraps. Basically, that's what I see happening on every front in science now. And it's become a denialist system, and we need to get around this. You need to ask your doctors about this, because if we don't get this checked out and get a map of where all this bacteria is in the body, we will never get out of this. Because right now they do a little biopsy. And a biopsy is where they go in and they take a little tiny piece of the skin or whatever it is that they feel is invaded and has damage. And then they say, well, in the case of lymph nodes, they take the skin that they see the eruption of show up in, and then they find where that drains into. All right, I showed you the lymph nodes. Well, let's look at them. Hold on. I mean, it could be anywhere in your body, but let's say you've got a skin lesion up in this area on your neck, they would probably look for one of the most obvious lymph nodes, and if they saw one that was swollen up, I would imagine that's the one they'd look at and see why is it swollen or whatever. I don't know. I can't say precisely what they would do, but I do know that that is the procedure. If you have malignant melanoma, which is skin cancer, and very invasive, and once it gets into the lymph nodes, it's not good. However, they found that these fecal transplants with these extra types of bacteria in it, and enzymes and catalysts, seem to have a positive effect. That's all I can say at this point. But, there's a lot of people who would like to have their doctors take an interest in this. And you have to speak up, because this will take a very, very, very long time before it's big and talked about on a wide open scale, which it is not now. And it's understood. It's been understood now for 4 or 5 years at least, that this microbiota is so important to all of these processes, not just cancer, but to digestive system, disorders and stomach pain and, everything in your body is acne, eczema, the feelings and mood swings and all of that stuff is the product of chemistry. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at this. All I'm asking for is whenever they do a biopsy and they check to see if the thing has become cancerous, at the same time they check it for its bacterial contents. What is living there? And if my friend Andy has a machine that he can just go click and see what bacteria are there and then log them somewhere, and we can analyze who's I'm just talking at this moment. But if you don't start talking and asking your doctors to look into this, it probably is not going to be, they probably won't know about this. And don't say, oh, you don't even know about this. Well, most will not know about this. This stuff moves very, very slowly. That's why for anybody that has this issue, this is important to be pushed forward quickly. These things do not last long, this particular type of cancer. Okay, you can look into this study. This is from the National Cancer Institute. I'm just going to cut right down to where it might have interest. This says the investigators analyzed the gut microbiota of all of the patients that they tested. The 6 patients whose cancers had stabilized or improved showed increased numbers of bacteria that have been associated with the activation of immune cells called T cells and with responses to immune checkpoint inhibitors. I think there were 16 that they originally worked. 6 out of 16 who had not originally responded had reduction in their tumors and long-term stabilization, so forth. Now, where were they when they started? How much, they said these people didn't respond to anything else, so they probably bombarded them with who knows what. So now here we are. In addition to having all this stuff come back, in addition, analyzing data on the proteins and metabolites in the body, researchers observed biological changes in the patients who responded to the transplant, which is the fecal transplant. For example, levels of immune system molecules that are associated with resistance, these are the bad ones, to immunotherapy declined. They just went away. Well, I don't know if they went away, but they declined. The levels of biomarkers associated with the good stuff, response increased. So based on the study findings, research suggested that larger clinical trials should be conducted. Well, if it's just a fecal transplant, and then, if we can get some biomarker stuff and come up with where these things live in the body and be able to tell if it's there or not, that's really the solution. But in the meantime, if it's between getting a fecal transplant and hoping for the best or dying, I don't know. I think I'd go with the fecal transplant. This is something that you need to discuss with your doctors, but doctors need to discuss it. It can't be something that's just not talked about because it's not understood yet. Understanding it comes with talking about it. Okay, like I said a million times here, I am not a doctor, I am a material researcher. I study materials. I go to all the same schools that doctors go to. I've been to a zillion of them, and I've studied all of the same stuff they've studied. However, I can draw it from many, many different places. Listen to this. This is ultra important. Microscopic studies of healthy human body has demonstrated that the microbial cells outnumber human cells by about 10 to 1. Those are your microbes, those are your bacterial things. Until recently, though, this abundant community of human-associated microbes remained largely unstudied, leaving their influence upon human development, physiology, immunity, and nutrition almost entirely unknown. And at the same time, they were giving everybody antibiotics, killing all their good bacteria, and then they became invaded. We really need to look into this and have, I know that this is a little bit of a hard acceptance for doctors to realize that this is basically the doctor in you, is your bacteria. Once you get into that good, healthy gut syndrome, the doctors are not going to be as important. And I don't know if that's a key factor why this is so slow, but I mean the pace of understanding this is literally glacial. And I have been assaulted. Even today, I was just like, you people should be, oh boy, I can't remember the words, but it was really nasty. You people should be ashamed of yourself supporting some idiot like this, trying to destroy your minds, and something like that. All I'm asking is that let's look at the evidence. I'm a material scientist. I am not a theoretical person by any means. I theorize, absolutely. That's how everything starts. But then you say, do I have anything to support it? If I don't have anything to support it, you go away, go to bed, go home, go to sleep. If you got something to support it, you say, well, what supports that? And then what supports this, the thing that supported that? And then what supports this? And before long, you got a solid rock foundation that is very, very, very hard to dispute. And I would love to have somebody try to dispute my evidence. So, and again, this is being presented primarily for doctors because doctors don't understand this. They don't have enough of an association to research. They read research papers very rarely. So they don't even know the latest research in most cases. Whatever they were taught when they went to school, that's pretty much it. They, yeah, I keep up on everything. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But I can tell you what, all the doctors I've talked to, and I talked to a lot of them because I wanted to find out what their opinion was. Oh, antibiotics, probiotics, they didn't really, there was no commitment. Other than the fact that, oh, no, you should use probiotics now, I guess, there was a time we didn't really consider that, but now, I think it's probably a good idea. But you never know, it's up to you. Basically, that's what they say. And we're going to get into cancer. They're finding out, this just came out a few months back, fecal microbiota transplants help patients with advanced melanoma respond to immunotherapy. This is very, very important if you have any of these issues. All right, so I'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.